September 25th, 2016, Yalak here. I'm doing a lesson here on Maranatha. This is just some extra information. I just did the lesson number 31 from the New Testament is Fake series entitled 008 Paul, and I talked about his use of the word Maranatha in 1 Corinthians 16:22 to the Corinthian church. I'm actually still editing that recording right now, and just thought I'd stop just to throw this in, just to let people understand, give you a little bit more understanding of what I'm trying to deal with in the New Testament is Fake series, with exposing the so-called Apostle Paul, who was not sent by the Most High. I'm going to give you some information on Maranatha. Right? Maranatha, they say, means come quickly, Lord Christus. Right? Come quickly, Lord. And it seems all nice when you say it and they tell you that's what it is. But look at this. This is coming now to us, letting us know that this whole Maranatha thing seems to have some pretty interesting roots in Christianity, and apparently in some Eastern yogic teachings, right? And you wonder, why is that mingled with Christianity? Well, I could tell you, but that's going to be for some other videos, because I've been looking into this stuff quite a bit, right? And now I've come upon this article here from swamij.com, maranatha.htm. And Swamij is spelled S-W-A-M as in money, I-J.com, then / maranatha.htm for those who want to read the whole article, because I'm not going to go through all of it. Interesting. This is entitled Maranatha, a Christian Meditation Mantra. Right? By Swami Naneshvara Bharati. It says here Maranatha, Maranatha, basically meaning come Lord. The Maranatha mantra. The teachings of yoga meditation are universal and non-sectarian, as is my personal orientation. However, being of Western birth, I mostly meet people who were born into Christian families, since Christianity is the dominant religion of the culture where I live. For those who follow Christianity, it is very useful to be aware of the Maranatha mantra, an ancient mantra of Christian tradition. And he's saying here, see the article on yoga and Christianity. Diversity of mantras. Mantra is a very useful practice in yoga meditation. While many, possibly most of the practitioners of yoga meditation who use a mantra use Sanskrit mantras, the science of yoga meditation itself does not tell you what mantras to use. The mantra might be in Sanskrit or any other language, either one's native tongue or the language of one's chosen religion. Some of the more brief meditation mantras are simply sound vibrations that are not from any particular language, though being root sounds of languages. These are called seed or bija mantras. Bija spelled B-I-J-A. Often the mantra is prescribed by one's teacher or lineage, or is practiced in accordance with one's religious affiliation, or it might be a universal mantra, such as the Soham mantra. The Himalayan tradition uses a diversity of mantras for meditation and also encourages people to follow the teachings, traditions, and mantras of their own religion. Maranatha is the final instruction. To many people, the use of mantra or sacred word appears to be an Eastern practice, often associated with Buddhism or Hinduism. However, There is a Christian meditation mantra, and you didn't hear that in church growing up, and you sure don't see that being used in the Old Testament, being supported by Torah. But there is a Christian meditation mantra that has been used for a very long time by the early monks, though it is little known publicly as a mantra practice. It is the mantra Maranatha. The word Maranatha is the final instruction of Apostle or Saint Paul's teachings to the Corinthians. That's in 1 Corinthians chapter 16 verse 22, which I mentioned already, and in St. John's final instruction in the book of Revelations. Thus, the last word, the final teaching of the entire Christian New Testament, is Maranatha, which is Aramaic and means "Come Lord." Maranatha and Maranatha, which is Maranatha, that is dealing with, it's saying one meditation teacher explains he was taught in seminary. Get that? In seminary, that when the word Maranatha is parsed, means broken into parts, as Maranatha or Maranatha, it has two different meanings. As Maranatha, it means "Come Lord" or "Lord come." As Maranatha, it means "Lord is here, Lord has come." Gets interesting now. Atha or Atha, the last part of Maranatha, the A-T-H-A, Atha, this is what St. Paul used as well, showing that he's just a fake. He's not no apostle of the Most High. Atha is in Maranatha and Yoga Sutras. Note that in the latter parsing, the phrase Atha is the same as the first word of the Yoga Sutras, Yoga Sutra 1.1, which says Atha Yoga Anushasanam, meaning now begins yoga. Read that again. It says Atha Yoga Anushasanam, and it means now begins yoga. So whatever St. Paul was saying to the Corinthian church when he's closing out his letter to them in 1 Corinthians, by telling them Maranatha, he's basically ending with that last part, Atha, of Maranatha, telling them now yoga begins. Does this sound like any Israelite teaching coming from out of Torah? Does it sound like something that his Messiah, Jesus, was teaching him to do? What does that say about the New Testament itself and the so-called Messiah that died for our sins when his apostles are teaching these things? The word Atha means now. And this particular usage of Atha implies prior preparation has been done, making one ready for these practices. I'm just going to read two more paragraphs and close this out. Pronouncing the mantra. The Maranatha mantra is pronounced with the letter A, that sounds like A, as in the word car or far. So A, as in Ma-ra-na-tha, Maranatha. Allow it to arise rhythmically in the mind field at whatever speed comes naturally, whether fast or slow, though you will probably find it will slow down on its own. Allow yourself to feel the meaning of the mantra in whatever way matches your own spiritual or religious predisposition, or simply feel the calmness that comes from the gentle repetition. The feeling is more subtle when remembered in the silence of the mind rather than spoken aloud. All of the general guidelines on using mantra that are in the article Mantra and 13 Tips on Their Use also apply to the Maranatha mantra. Then they get into the next paragraph saying, dealing with positioning the mantra. All right. Now I won't read the rest of it. You can look it up yourself. But it's basically teaching you about how to position yourself, your eyebrows, your breathing, dealing with relaxation, inhalation, exhalation, and so on, right? Um, and following the mantra to silence, which is always used and talked about when you're doing meditations. Then you get into the Kundalini awakening and so on. You see what I'm saying? And now counting the mantra, like even when they're counting those beads. Um, so basically, this other part here actually says the Maranatha mantra has been taught extensively by Father John Main and Father Lawrence Freeman through their organization, the World Community for Christian Meditation. And I do know for a fact that Christian churches have been slowly getting into Eastern meditation practices and yoga. The church I came out of, when I found out that our people as slaves, coming off slave ships, are the children of Israel, that church was starting to get into yoga practices where from the top level they were bringing in yoga. All right. So, yeah, you read the rest of it if you want. But basically, it was just extra information that's giving some more information on Maranatha, showing that it's an old Christian meditation mantra, right? And so when Paul was giving that, using that Maranatha prayer, he's basically teaching them as some type of a yogi, right? He's basically giving them this kind of yogic teaching that the ancient yogis and Tamil teachers from ancient times were doing, and these people hold that this was the most ancient religion, right? This kind of stuff was in the most ancient religion, I'm saying, right? So you got to see when you're dealing with stuff like even with the Adam and Eve story and the takedown of that, these are the kind of people who would have been around at times like that, either right then or right after, or something like that, right? That was fighting against the Creator. Possibly. Let me throw that in because I know you're going to fight me, and I don't want to deal with that right here. But basically, in the early world or the ancient world, this kind of yogic kind of meditation and teachings and religion is what was dominating the earth, right? And so we find Christianity has these ancient links. And I told you already, St. Augustine in another video I did in the New Testament, this fake series, I've brought out already that Christianity is an ancient religion, nothing to do with starting with Christ. It was ancient. Christ was simply used to rebirth that same ancient religion, and it was with the rebirth it was rebranded Christianity. That's all. Why do you think there are so many different versions of the so-called Christian cross? Because the Christian cross as a religious symbol was just changed many, many, many times and was in use long before Christ ever came to die on a cross. It's an ancient religious symbol, and it got changed to look in different ways many, many times, right? Until they came up with how it looked for Christ. The different kinds. Look up cross and see, look at images and see how many different shapes that a cross has. So if you think the cross is just about Christ crucified with one pole and then the other pole stretched across to look like a T, no, there's more crosses out there, right? So this is just some extra information showing you that the Maranatha that Paul used has a lot more to it than we think. Why is this apostle filled with the Holy Ghost, who is an Israelite himself, teaching this kind of yogic Eastern kind of meditation and religious stuff? Maranatha, there you go, knocking down Paul one more time.